the last video we looked at fraction and decimal equivalents for tenths, hundredths and thousandths. This time round we're going to recap that before moving on to see how we'll deal with other fractions of amounts and how we turn those into their decimal equivalents. So first let's recap these ones at the top. So 4 tenths. So you should remember from last time, 4 tenths, that's telling me there's 4 in the tenths column. So there is 0 ones and there are 4 in the tenths column. Okay, that's the column that comes directly after or before the decimal point, should I say. What about 0.002? What column is that 2 in? What's its place value? Okay, that 2's in the thousandths column, so that tells me what my denominator is going to be 1000. Okay, how many have I got? I've got 2 of them, so that's 2 thousandths. What about the other 2? Okay, have a go at those before I do. So 17 hundredths, think about its place value, and then 0.104. What do you reckon? So 17 hundredths, again, I've got no ones. Okay, but I've got 17 hundredths, but I can't have 17 in my hundredths column. So I'm going to put my 7 in my hundredths column and move the 1 into the tenths column. 0.17. This is my tenths and this is my hundredths column. 0.104. Okay, so I look at the last digit. The last digit is in the thousandths column. That tells me my denominator. Okay, how many of them have I got? I've got 104 of them. 104 thousandths. So quite straightforward when we're dealing with the decimals and converting them into fractions. And as long as my fractions have 10, 100 or 1000 as the denominator, that's quite simple. But what if my denominator isn't 10, 100 or 1000? What do you think I can do? Is it impossible? No, we've got to link it to some other maths we've done before. We've got to link it to our knowledge of equivalent fractions. Okay, so if we convert these fractions so that they do have 10, 100, 1000 as their denominator, that's going to make converting them a lot easier. Okay, so for example, 6/20ths. Okay, so I've got to use my knowledge. Can I turn 20 into 10, 100 or 1000? Well, I can turn 20 into 10. I could halve it, but I've got to make sure whatever I do, I can do it to both the numerator and the denominator. So when I use equivalent fractions, I've got to do the same to both. So 6, yeah, I can divide that by the same amount. So I can divide this by 2, and I can divide this by 2. So that would give me a total of 3 tenths. Now that my denominator is a 10, that's going to be a lot easier. Okay, so I can think to myself, 3 tenths, what's that equivalent to? 0.3. Brilliant. Okay, how about 14 500ths? So 500ths, what am I going to turn that into? Thousandth is going to be the easiest one. I'm going to make it larger this time. So I'm going to multiply by 2, and I need to do the same to my denominator. So 14 times 2, 14 doubled, is 28, and 500 times 2 is 1000, 28 thousandths, and then that way I can now turn it into my decimal, 0.028. Brilliant. Let's have a go at these two then. 8/25ths and 18/30ths. So 8/25ths, 25. I'm not going to be able to divide 25 to make it into 10, okay, but I am going to be able to make it larger. I can make it into 100, okay. I can multiply it by 4. That means I'm going to have to do the same to my numerator. So 8 times 4 is 32. 25 times 4 is 100. Okay, so I've got 32 hundredths, which is the same as saying 0.32. 18/30ths. Now 30. I'm not going to be able to multiply 30 to make it into 100. Okay, so I'm going to divide it instead. I'm going to turn it into a tenth. Okay, and 18 hopefully can be divided by the same number. So if I divide 30 by 3, that would give me 10. And yet 18 is in the 3 times table as well, so I can divide that by 3. So 30 divided by 3 is 10. 18 divided by 3 is 6. I've got 6 tenths this time. I can now convert it into my decimal, 0.6. Okay, so as you can see, I've still got to use my knowledge of equivalent fractions here in order to make it so that my denominators are 10, 100 or 1,000, because then it's easy to convert into my decimals. Okay, I want you to have a go at yourself this time. So pause the video, give these ones a go. Remember, convert them into 10, 100 and 1,000 first, and then you'll be able to turn them into decimals. How did you get on? Not too bad. Hopefully one of them might have been slightly tricky, but we'll have a look together. So 12 20ths, what did you decide to do? Now, you might have multiplied and turned 20 into 100, okay, or you might have divided to turn it into 10. I'm going to divide it by 2, because I know I can divide both of these by 2. Okay, 12 divided by 2 is 6, 20 divided by 2 is 10, 6 tenths, so that equals, yeah, that equals 0.6. Okay, for those of you that might have multiplied, okay, so let's have a look what that would look like. So if you multiplied, you might have multiplied by 5, for example. Okay, so you might have turned it into hundredths. 12 times 5 is 60. Exactly the same. You might have put 0.6 or 0.60, which is fine. Okay, but you don't need that 0. That 0 doesn't tell me there's anything there. So that's the same answer. 49 50ths. Okay, hopefully you doubled this one, times it by 2. Do the same to the denominator and the numerator. So 50 becomes 100. 49 times 2. Okay, bit trickier maybe. You could have partitioned it and done 40 times 2 and 9 times 2 and added them together. Or you could think of 49 as being 50. 50 times 2 is 100, and take 2 off. Okay, so you'd have 98 100ths, would give you an answer of 0.98. Okay, last one, this next one, sorry, 13 25ths. Again, what do you do this time? Multiply it by 4. That would be the sensible way to do it. Multiply it by 4. Okay, 13 25ths. That would become 100. Okay, so 13 times 4. Again, if you weren't confident doing that, okay, there's no reason why you couldn't do yourself a little column multiplication and added those together. Okay, you've got 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 52. Okay, or you might have thought to yourself, oh, I'll do 12 times 4 is 48. Okay, and add the 4 on extras that you've got. Okay, either way would be perfectly fine, whatever you're most confident at doing. 52 hundredths, 0.52. Last one. Okay, tricky is one of the 4. So 1 and 1 200th. Okay, so well, 1 is going to stay as the 1 whole. I'm not going to change it for now. 1 200th. What can I convert that into? Well, I can't divide it to make 100 because I can't make 1 any smaller. Okay, I'd end up with a decimal. So I'm going to turn my fraction into 1,000th. I times this one by 5, times this one by 5. So I've got 1 and 5 thousandths. Okay, so we've got 1 is whole, 1 point, and I've got 5 in the thousandths column. 0, 0, 5, 1.005. How did you get on? Okay, get all those? Maybe that last one was a bit tricky. Okay, if not, rewind the video, have another look, or you can have a look at this next step. Okay, so slightly trickier maybe. What if you've got a denominator like 3, for example, which doesn't multiply? You can't turn it into an equivalent fraction of 10, 100 or 1,000. Okay, how are you going to work out the decimal equivalent? Well, we need to think about what a fraction actually means. Okay, this line in a fraction actually means divide. We've got 1 divided into 3 equal parts. Okay, that's what it actually means. 1 divided into 3 equal parts. So I can do a bit of division to help me find the answer. Okay, so I'm going to do some short division. Here we go. So I've got 1 divided by 3. Now you'll notice straight away that 1 isn't big enough. Okay, so I'm going to need to add in my tenths, hundredths and thousands. And remember my decimal point. It's also handy to put in your decimal point to start with straight away for my answer. 3 into 1, or 1 divided by 3, you can't do. So we're going to carry it over. 3 into 10, or 10 divided by 3, goes 3 times with 1 left over. 3 into 10 again goes 3 times with 1 left over. 3 into 10 goes 3 times. And I could keep going. This is what we call a recurring number. So we can show it maybe by putting the 3 dots and ellipses to show that it would keep going. We could keep going on for infinity forever. So 0.333. Okay. So your answer 1/3 equals, okay, 1/3 equals 0.333, or you might see it sometimes where they've rounded it to just 0.3. Okay, it's perfectly fine either way. Okay, there are some other ones, okay, that we need to know that are also important. One of the other important ones to remember is 1/2. Okay, and we can do the same kind of method. Now we could just make this into 100, so we could do 2 times 50 and 1 times 50, and we'd have 50 100ths. Okay, that would be perfectly fine. That would equal 0.5. Or you might find it more efficient to think of it as a division and think of it as 1 divided by 2. 2 into 1 doesn't go. Carry the 1. 2 into 10 goes 5 times, 0.5. Okay, that's a really important one for us to remember. So, using that method that we've practiced here, okay, have a go at these challenges here. Pause the video and have a go. How did you get on? Yeah, slightly trickier maybe, but linking our skills together, our skills of division that we've practiced previously. So 1/4. So 1/4. So I've got 1 and I'm dividing it by 4. Okay, 4 into 1 doesn't go. I can't divide 1. Pass it on. 4 into 10, or 10 divided by 4, goes twice, which is 8, which leaves them with 2 left over. 4 into 20 goes exactly 5 times, 0.25. That's another important one for us to remember. Okay, so 0.5 is a half, 1/4 is 0.25. Okay, these are important ones we're going to need to learn off by heart to help us work quickly in maths. Now, 1/6. So we're dividing 1 by 6. 6 into 1 doesn't go. 6 into 10 goes once. Okay, with 4 left over. Okay, 6 into 40. Well, how close can I get? 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, which leaves me with 4 left over. Okay, which would be 6 again and again. That would keep going on for infinity. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay. Finally, 1/9. So I'm divided by 9. Okay, 9 into 1 doesn't go. Pass it on. 9 into 10 goes once, with 1 left over. 9 into 1 goes once, with 1 left over. Once, with 1 left over. Okay, 0.111. Did you manage those challenge ones? Hopefully you gave it a good go. Final bit then, for those of you that are up for a challenge. Okay, have a read of that then. How can you use the decimal equivalent of 1/4 to find the decimal equivalent of 1/8? Okay, so remember we thought that 1/4 was. How can you use that knowledge to help you find 1/8? Pause the video and have a go. Right, how did you get on? So, decimal equivalent of 1/4 to find 1/8. Okay, might have helped to draw a diagram. So for example, here's my quarters. Okay, there's my ones divided by 4. And I know that each of these boxes is worth, from our working out earlier, 0.25. Okay, now if I wanted to turn these into eighths, what would I do? Well, I'd half them. I've got 8 boxes now. So that means what I'm doing is I'm taking my quarter, my 0.25, okay, and I'm going to divide it by 2, okay, to find my answer. So 0.25 divided by 2, okay, 2 into 0 doesn't go. 2 into 2 goes once. 2 into 5 goes twice. And I've got 1 left over. Okay, so I'll pass that on. Remember there would be a 0 in that column. 2 into 10 goes 5 times. 0.125. Well done if you managed that. So an quarter is 0.25, whereas an eighth is 0.125. Okay, half the amount, because 1/8 is half as big as 1/4. Well done if you had a go at that one.